Here are 10 pieces of gem trivia you can listen to in English. Now, let's get started. Color-changing gem. Have you ever seen a stone that changes its color in the sun? There is a rare stone called hackmanite that can do this. When you put a light-colored hackmanite in sunlight, it quickly changes to a bright pink or purple color in just a few seconds. This special ability is called tenebrescence. This change happens because of tiny parts inside the stone called electrons. When the electrons take in energy from the sun's UV light, they move and create color centers. These color centers change how the stone takes in light, so we see a darker color. This color change is not permanent. When the stone is moved to a dark place, the electrons slowly go back to their first position. This makes the bright color disappear over a few minutes or hours. You can do this again and again, and the stone will not be damaged. It is interesting that this ability is not only found in hackmanite, but also in some other stones like sodalite. But high-quality hackmanite is very popular with collectors because its color change is so big. You can find these stones in places like Greenland and Afghanistan. Queen's favorite gem. Why did people once think the beautiful opal was an unlucky stone? In the 19th century, many people in Europe believed that opals brought bad luck. This belief was mostly because of a famous book from 1829 called Anne of Geierstein. The book was written by Sir Walter Scott. In the story, a person who wears an opal has a very sad ending. The book was so popular that the price of opals in Europe went down. Sales dropped by 50% for many years because people were afraid to wear or buy the stone. However, this bad idea about opals was changed by a very important person, Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom. She did not believe the stone was unlucky and loved opals very much. She often wore opal jewelry. As wedding gifts, she gave beautiful opal jewelry to her 5 daughters. She showed everyone that she loved opals. Also, amazing black opals were found in Australia in 1877, which was a part of the British Empire. Because of the Queen, opals became popular and fashionable again. Fake ruby. Did you know that a famous jewel in England is not what it appears to be? In the middle of the imperial state crown is the Black Prince's ruby, but it is not a ruby at all. It is actually a very big 170-carat red spinel. This old stone has a famous story. A prince named Edward, the Black Prince, got it in 1367. Later, in 1415, King Henry V wore it in his helmet during a battle, and a story says that the stone luckily saved the king's life. So why was it called a ruby for so long? For hundreds of years, there was no good way to know the difference between the two stones, so people just judged them by their red color. It was not until 1783 that scientists found new ways to study gems. They learned that a ruby is a mineral called corundum, while a spinel is a different kind of mineral. For over 400 years, the kings and queens of England did not know the stone's true identity. Cleopatra's emerald. Many people know the story of Queen Cleopatra and her love for beautiful emeralds. But what if her famous green jewels were not emeralds at all? Today, scientists believe that many of Cleopatra's gems were actually another stone called peridot. For many years, people believed that the queen owned special emerald mines in Egypt and wore the green gems as a sign of her power. The reason for this historical mistake is simple. In the past, people did not have scientific ways to check what gems were made of. They just gave names to gems based on their color, so any beautiful green stone was often called an emerald. The old mines in Egypt that were connected to Cleopatra are now known to have had many peridots. This confusion lasted until the 18th century, when science helped experts learn that emeralds and peridots are two very different minerals. Ruby at night only. Have you ever heard of a gem that looks like an emerald in the daytime and a ruby at night? This is the special quality of a gem called alexandrite. In the sun, the stone looks green, but under a light bulb or a candle, it changes to a red color. This interesting event is called the alexandrite effect. It happens because of two things. First, the gem has a chemical called chromium inside. Second, the type of light is very important. Sunlight has many kinds of light, but light from a light bulb has more red light. The secret is also in our eyes. Our eyes are very good at seeing green light. The kind of green light our eyes see best is about 555 nanometers. Sunlight has a good mix of all light and a lot of green light, so we see the alexandrite as green. But light from a light bulb has only a little green and blue light. It has a lot of red light. Because there is not much green light, our brain thinks the color we are seeing is red. Gemstone Twins. Did you know that rubies and sapphires are basically the same mineral? Both are types of a mineral called corundum. They are made of the same chemical, aluminum oxide, and have the same shape inside. The big difference in color and price comes from tiny amounts of other things inside them, which is less than 1%. When a chemical called chromium is inside, the corundum looks red, and it becomes a ruby. When iron and titanium are inside, it looks blue, and we call it a sapphire. But this small difference makes a big problem for gem experts. For a long time, people have argued about the difference between a dark pink sapphire and a light red ruby. Groups like the Gemological Institute of America have made rules about how strong the color must be. But even with these rules, experts still don't always agree. One expert might call a stone a ruby, but another expert might call it a pink sapphire. This shows that it is not easy to decide. Gem of water and light. Did you know that some beautiful gems are not hard crystals, but are actually made with a lot of water? This is true for opals. Opals are different from diamonds or rubies because they do not have a crystal shape. Instead, they are made of many very small balls of silica. These balls are in a neat pattern. The spaces between the balls are filled with water. Water is usually 6 to 10% of an opal's weight, but it can be up to 21%. This special structure creates the famous play of color. When light passes through the spaces between the silica balls, the light breaks up into many beautiful colors. However, having a lot of water is also the opal's biggest problem. The gem is very weak against heat and quick temperature changes. This can make its water dry up. If an opal loses water too fast, small lines called cracks can appear on it. This is called crazing, and it can damage the gem's beauty forever. Because they can break easily, opals need more careful keeping than other gems. Their beauty needs a careful balance of water. Gear-like emerald. Have you ever seen a gem that looks like it has a wheel with 6 lines inside it? This is the Trapezie emerald, a very rare kind of emerald. It is mostly found in the mines of Colombia. Its name comes from a Spanish word for a sugarcane wheel. These emeralds have a special pattern of black lines that come out from the center. For a long time, people thought this pattern was just a mistake or a flaw. They thought it made the emerald less good, so people did not want them as much as clear emeralds. However, today, our study of gems shows that this old idea was wrong. The black lines are not mistakes. They are made of carbon, and they were added in a special order when the emerald was growing. This happens when the emerald's 6-sided crystal gets bigger. The carbon gets caught along the edges of the crystal's 6 parts. Gem experts now understand this simple idea, but they still don't know the exact conditions underground, like the right pressure and temperature that create this perfect pattern. So, these gems are still an interesting question for science. Accidental gem. What if a special stone was made not in the ground, but from factory trash? This is the story of Fordite. It is also called Detroit agate. It is not natural. It was made from many layers of car paint over many years in American car factories. When people painted cars by hand, extra paint dripped from the cars onto the factory floor. This paint was heated in ovens again and again at about 160 degrees Celsius. This happened hundreds of times and made hard, colorful blocks of paint. But factories stopped making Fordite in the late 1970s. This is because they started using a better way to paint called electrostatic painting. This new way uses magnets to pull the paint onto the car. Not much paint is wasted. Because of this, the thick layers of extra paint did not build up anymore. Today, no new Fordite is made. People cut and polish it to make special jewelry. It is valuable because it is rare and has a special history. Science of clarity. Have you ever wondered why many emeralds look so clear? Most natural emeralds have very small cracks inside them. This is natural for the stone. These cracks are so common that they have a special name, jardin, which is French for garden. To make the emeralds look better, people have been putting them in oil for centuries. This started in ancient Egypt. They put the stone in a clear oil like cedarwood oil. This makes the small cracks harder to see. This method works because of something in physics called the refractive index. This is a number that shows how much light bends when it goes through something. The refractive index of an emerald is about 1.57, but the air inside the cracks has a refractive index of 1.00. This big difference makes the cracks easy to see because the light spreads out. Cedarwood oil has a refractive index of about 1.51. This number is very close to the emerald's number. When oil fills the cracks, light can pass through more easily. This makes the emerald look much clearer. However, this oil treatment does not last forever, and it does not change the stone.